Hi, and welcome to our Songwriting Sunday sparring session. And it's called that because I believe that songwriting and music production as well are very competitive. And I'm a competitive person. I love sports, so I put everything together and made it, yes, a little bit more sporty, a little bit more fruity. And hope you're going to enjoy that as we're going to be looking at lyrics, melodies, harmonies, or chords, and arrangement over the next few weeks. And today we are going to look at melodies. What makes a good melody? Now, of course, we can all write melodies easily. We can sing them in the shower. We can sing them when we play our instruments or when we make a beat. But I think if we want to have success in songwriting, it's a good idea to get a little bit more scientific about it and analyze hit songs and analyze our own songs and see whether we can get a little bit better each time you write a new melody. Again, it's the same in sports. We're not going to learn the best tennis serve in the world overnight, but if we keep at it and maybe video our serve motion and maybe work with a coach, then we can get better. And after a few months or so, we will wonder how we could ever have served that badly. And of course, I'm not saying keeping this analogy going that your melodies are bad in any way, but I think everybody's melody writing can be improved, and that's what we're going to try and make a start on today. So the way it's going to work is that I'm going to talk a little bit about the theory behind good melody writing, but there's not going to be a lot of theory here. Most of it is going to be about listening to actual hits and finding out what type of melodies these hits contain and how we can learn from that and how we can apply this knowledge to our own music. Of course, if you have any songs that you would like to analyze or you would like to suggest, just put them in the chat and I'll see whether I can dig them up. Otherwise, I've got lots of songs prepared for you. So let's start with a little bit of theory, like I said. And what I would like to do is to talk about the main two categories of melodic writing, and those are punchy and singy. Now, these may be funny words in relation to music theory, but basically punchy means when it's more rhythmical, when it's more about the power of the melodic rhythm, which is the part of the melody that you can clap. And singy is, I wouldn't say the opposite because you can combine the two, but singy is what you would associate more with maybe opera or musical theatre or very melodic pop like ABBA. So that's the other end of the spectrum. And punchy would be obviously all hip hop and rap or a lot of rock music. And some of the very best pop songs actually combine the best of both worlds, where you have some punchy elements or melodies in the verses, and then you have some more singy bits in the chorus, or the other way around. So what we're going to do, we're just going to have a listen to a song which is a few years old. We're going to listen to old songs, new songs, and see what we get. So let's give it a spin. So the first song is from, I think it's 2003, so a long time ago, but I think it gives us a good introduction into the world of melody writing. So here it is.
So shorty, it's your birthday. We gon' party like it's your birthday. We gon' sip Bacardi like it's your birthday. And you know we don't give a fuck, it's not your birthday. You'll find me in the club, bottle full of bub. Look, mommy, I got the X, I'm getting into taking drugs. I'm into having sex, I ain't into making love. So come give me a hug, if you're into getting rough. You can find me in the club, bottle full of bub. Look, mommy, I got the X, I'm getting into taking drugs. I'm into having sex, I ain't into making love. So come give me a hug, if you're into getting rough. When I pull up out front, you see the Benz on dub. When I roll 20 deep, it's 20 knives in the club. Niggas heard I fuck with Dre, now they wanna show me love. When you sell like Eminem and the hoes, they wanna fuck. But homie, ain't nothing changed, hold down, G's up. I see exhibit in the cut, they nigga roll that weed up. If you watch how I move, you mistake before I play up here. Been hit with a few shells, but I don't walk with a limp.
Okay, so we're only going to listen to the songs for a short time. This is just for educational purposes, if you like. And so, what could you detect? So, I think what it is that the melody is quite flat all the way through. So it doesn't go up and down like that. It's just on one level, more or less. But it's very interesting in terms of melodic rhythm. There's lots of things that you could clap like this. That in itself is interesting, and therefore it's enough to keep the listener engaged all the way through without having a huge melodic range, without having that singiness in the melody. So this is one of the lessons that I think we can take from today, is that it's not always necessary to write huge, rangy, dramatic melodies in order to have a hit song, or in order to keep the listener interested throughout. But of course, the fewer notes you have to play with, the more interesting that melodic rhythm needs to be. So this is our first song, and let's see what else we've got. Right, sorry, there was a little glitch on the screen, but I managed to fix it. These things can happen. So let's listen to another type of song.
I heard that you're settled down, that you found a girl and you're married now. I heard that your dreams came true. Guess she gave you things I didn't give to you. Old friend, why are you so shy?
You can hear
Ain't like you to hold back or hide from the light. I hate to turn up out of the blue uninvited, but I couldn't stay away, I couldn't fight it. I had hoped you'd see my face and that you'd be reminded that for me it isn't over. Never mind, I'll find someone like you. I wish nothing but the best of you too. Don't forget me, I beg. I remember you say sometimes it lasts and loves, but sometimes it hurts instead. Sometimes it lasts and loves, but sometimes it hurts instead.
Okay, so This was obviously a very singy song. I just wanted to have some extreme examples to get us started today. And there was a lot of intensity, a lot of emotion in this song. Obviously, the lyrical content is different as well. So we talked about lyrics in the last episode. Of course, everything works together in songwriting and production. And so here we have a song about looking back at a relationship and wishing the ex-lover good luck in the new one. So obviously that's a very emotional thing to say and do. And so the melody reflects that, and the tempo of the song and the instrumentation, so everything works together really well. Whereas the other song, In the Club, was about, well, being in the club, right? So it's a very different feeling, and this is reflected in the way the melodies were written. And so in this song, it's very melodic, very singy, but it doesn't mean there isn't any interesting melodic rhythm in it. So it's still what we called punchy before. So sometimes, and then it goes sometimes, like that. Also helped by the consonants as well. So again, you can see that everything is interrelated in songwriting, and when you have the S's and the T's and the D's and the K's and so forth, they give a certain hardness to the words, and that translates into a punchier melodic rhythm. So that's something to keep in mind as well when you put your lyrics and your melodies together, that you also look out for the actual sounds of the words. They are part of the melody. It's like, of course, it's like an instrument, isn't it? So you can have a melody and play it with strings or a synth brass pad, or you could play it with some kind of FM sound, whatever it may be. It'll sound different each time. And in the same way, any melody will sound different depending on what the actual consonants and vowels are doing. Quite apart from the meaning, of course, that also makes a big difference. So those were our two starters, and let's have a listen to another song.
Life's like this. That's the way it is. Life's like this. That's the way it is. Chill out, what she yelling for? Lay back, it's all been done before. And if you could only let it be, you would see I like you the way you are. When we're driving in your car and you're talking to me one-on-one, but you become somebody else round everyone else. You're watching your back like you can't relax. You're trying to be cool, you look like a fool to me. Tell me what is gonna make things so complicated. I see the way you're acting like you're somebody else, gets me frustrated. Life's like this, you fall and you crawl and you break and you take what you get and you turn it into honesty. Promise me I'm never gonna find you faking. No, no, no.
All right, so just heard this da 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 da. So it's a very, very strong melodic rhythm. It's also repeated a lot, which we also call catchy. And it's still got a little bit of a range, so it's not like on one line like In the Club. It's more interesting melodically, and but it's still very punchy as well. And so this is another example of a big pop hit where you have melody, but you also make it so that it's easy to remember, easy to sing back, which is especially important for live, of course. And so that it's interesting and engaging and captivating and all of those good things. Right, so let's see whether we can have more examples of either singy or punchy, or maybe combinations of both. So I'm not going to talk through the song this time, so I'm going to let you find out what you think it is. Is it singy? Is it punchy? If it's a bit of both, where is it singy? Where is it punchy? So let's have the next song by somebody who's in the news a lot at the moment, which is Britney Spears. So this is an older song, and let's have a listen. Long intro too. Brilliant.
Superstar, where you from? How's it going? I know you got a clue what you're doing. You can play brand new to all the other chicks out here, but I know what you are, baby. Look at you, getting more than just a re-up. Baby, you got all the puppets with the strings up, faking like a good one, but I call them like I see them. I know what you are, baby. Womanizer, womanizer, you're a womanizer, oh, womanizer, oh, you're a womanizer, baby. You are, you are, womanizer, womanizer, womanizer. Boy, don't try to front, I know just what you are. Boy, don't try to front, I know just what you are. You got me going, you're oh so charming, but I can do it. You womanizer. Boy, don't try to front, I know just what you are. Boy, don't try to front, I know just what you are. You say I'm crazy, I got you crazy. You're nothing but a womanizer. Daddy-o, you got the swagger of a champion.
Cool. So when I made my remark, that was when we only had one note, right? Womanizer, womanizer, oh, oh, womanizer is completely flat, right? So that's one way of writing a melody. Obviously, the melodic rhythm was very strong, very powerful and forceful. And the other parts of the song were more melodic, but overall there was still a lot of catchy melodic rhythm, right? So this gives us a clue to how pop songs are written in most genres, is that they're mainly based on a strong, punchy, interesting, engaging melodic rhythm. So if that is your weakness, because we all have weaknesses, of course, we're not born as perfect songwriters, producers, so we have things that we're good at. So maybe you're a great guitarist, or a great lyricist, or maybe you're a great mix engineer. Doesn't matter what your main skills are, but when it comes to melodies, most people are not great at writing interesting melodic rhythms. Right, so this is something to keep in mind. So if you want to make progress quickly, this will be an area where that can benefit you almost straight away, because most people write boring melodic rhythms, right? So maybe at this point we should do just a touch more theory, if you'll forgive me, and talk about the difference between straight notes and syncopated notes. Right? So maybe some of you will have heard that before, especially those of you who've had classical training. But if you've had classical training, then many of the melodies you will have played or studied will be quite straight, or at least not as, shall I say, funky as melodies in jazz and later on in pop music. And so if that is you, if you have a very traditional musical education, then again, learning about melodic rhythm is very, very beneficial, and is something that I would recommend you do almost straight away after watching this stream. Just an awareness, which we're getting through listening to all sorts of hit songs. And then, of course, when it comes to writing your own songs, it's a great idea to, from time to time, check your melodic rhythms. Are they catchy? Are they memorable? So if you just clap your melodic rhythms, are they as good as when you clap what we just heard, Womanizer, right? Or maybe in the club, or even complicated. right? So this is something you could even clap, say, in a sports stadium or something like that. So it's really one of the hallmarks of great pop writing is to have those interesting melodic rhythms, and to not only have them in, say, the chorus in the main hook, but also throughout, because you will find that most great songs have hook after hook after hook, and that doesn't only apply to the sung melody but also to the arrangement and counter melodies and other things that we may build in there, or riffs and other highlights. But just talking about the main song melodies, you'll find it have an interesting, those hit songs will have an interesting verse, they have an interesting pre-chorus if there is one, and definitely an interesting hook or chorus, and then maybe a bridge or middle eight later on. So you will find there isn't a lot of filler or dead space in hit songs. And of course, if you are not an out-and-out pop writer, it doesn't matter, because I think the songs that we all want to write, which are songs that people are going to remember in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years time, and the songs that people are going to want to hear when they come to your concerts, those are songs that don't really have any weaknesses, especially not in the melody. Because just picture it, at a live gig, people are going to sing those lyrics and those melodies back to you. So if you make them difficult to sing, to learn, to remember, then you're not going to have very many people singing them to you, which is one of the greatest feelings, of course, for any musician. So that was Womanizer. And let's see what else we've got. I can see from my list here, out of the corner of my eye, I can see we've got Bruno Mars. So let's have a listen to what he's got to say. So this brings us to one of the most important concepts in the whole of music writing and production, and that is contrast. So we're going to be revisiting contrast over the next few weeks. It's something that pops up all the time, because again, it's one of the things that separates the say up and coming or beginner writers even from the great writers that we all admire. And so here in this song we have a lot of contrast, right? So there's the verse melody, which is so very, very punchy, right? Again, very catchy, very memorable. You can clap it like that. And then when again I talked over the song, that's where in the chorus, that's when the really singy melody came in, and the lyrical sentiment also became softer, less playful, more romantic, more sentimental. So all of this is really, it's no coincidence. I hope you can see that it may not be planned, like say on in an Excel spreadsheet, right? I mean, the songs are still written the normal way, but what remained at the end after the many edits and co-writes and whatever have you is something that is perfect, right? So that's what we're looking for, to write perfect songs. It doesn't mean that we will spend an infinity of time on making it perfect, right? So at some point we're going to have to call it finished. But until then, we're going to work hard, right? And if it takes 5, 6, 7 revisions, so what, right? We're writing the kind of songs that may be our retirement income, or we're writing the kind of songs that we're going to be proud of for years to come, or we may be writing the kind of songs that give us our first breakthrough. So why should we be lazy and hope that songs will come to us straight away, like within a few seconds? I know you all know stories of songs that came very, very quickly. So, for example, Every Breath You Take, right? Very simple song, very simple lyrically, melodically, harmonically, right? But this song only came, what was it, 20 minutes, half an hour? It came through that quickly because Sting had been writing songs for many decades before that, right? So he'd done his homework, and as his reward, this song came to him quickly. Or for Paul McCartney, I think Yesterday came in his dream, right? Again, that's a reward for putting in the hard yards for year after year after year. When we're starting out, or when we haven't written like dozens of songs or even hundreds of songs, that is very unlikely to happen, right? So don't be discouraged if your first efforts aren't fantastic. It happens to everybody. And so the key is to stick at it, because it will get better. And of course, here in these streams, and of course in all the courses that we offer, and my songwriting course called Songwriter in particular, we try and give you those shortcuts, right? We try and take some of those months and years off your learning curve. And you're still going to have to do, of course, you're still going to have to do a lot of hard work, but it's going to be less frustrating. And I think that's a good thing, right? So we get a little bit coaching, a little bit of tuition, and then we do a lot of experimentation ourselves, develop our own style, and that way we have the best of both worlds. If you just do everything by trial and error, well, just imagine you getting a new workstation, a new DAW, like say Ableton Live, or the one I use, which is Reaper, or something like Pro Tools or Logic, right? And you just somebody puts it on your hard drive, you just bought it, right? And then you have to get on with it straight away. That's going to be tricky, right? And it's the same with writing and production. It'll take some time. But if you do a course, like when I started out with Logic, for example. I started out with a course, right? I wasn't so stupid just to assume that I could just operate it within seconds, right? So that's why I think tuition is good. And of course, you don't want to be in tuition for years, right? Some people do it for 5, 10 years, which to me is an avoidance strategy, right? So you do your course, you do a short course or 1-year diploma, whatever it may be, and then you go out into the world and release your stuff, right? Or get it ready for release. Because otherwise, if you're waiting for the absolutely perfect song that can never be improved by anybody in the whole world ever, that's probably not going to happen, and your career will already be over before you've released your first song. And I know you sit there at home laughing at me, but these sort of things happen, and I've seen it happen to my students, and that's why I'm mentioning it here now. Hopefully, unfortunately, not to many of my students, because most of my students actually do get on with it, but some are perfectionists. And so if you are of that persuasion, I'd just like to offer a friendly word of warning here to work hard, but at some point call the song finished, move on to the next one, get some feedback, incorporate that feedback, maybe get some feedback from your coach or teacher, or from people you trust, or maybe you devise your own feedback system, whatever it is, you just move on at some point. And I think it was Ed Sheeran who said that imagine there's a water outage, right? So you turn on the tap, or is it in American English? Faucet, right? Yeah. So you turn that on anyway, so there's no water coming out, right? And then somebody from the water company fixes it after maybe an hour or two. The water comes back on, and the water is going to be brown, right? It's going to be dirty. And so you have to let it run for a minute or two, and the water is going to be clear. And that is the analogy that Ed Sheeran used when he said, look, the first songs are going to be like that water after the outage, right? They're not going to be perfect. They might even be horrible. But if you keep at it, if you wait for long enough, then the clear water will appear. But to keep that analogy going, that clear water will appear after a couple of minutes, right? You don't have to fill an Olympic-sized swimming pool before the water gets clear. And that's what I mean by waiting forever with your first release, right? My first releases weren't perfect, but later ones were pretty good. So that came from learning, listening, analyzing, and incorporating that feedback religiously into my next songs, having that competitive desire to get better, like I alluded to in our intro when we talked about the parallels between writing or music and sports. And of course, there's one more thing. I hope you all like tangents a little bit. I'm not going off on too many. We're going to look at more melodies in a second, but I think it all matters. And that is, in music, there's always that element of luck that you can have, which you don't have so much in sports, right? So if you are a great tennis player and you want to be one of the super greats and win Wimbledon and all of that, luck with line calls or things like that don't really come into it. That tends to even itself out. But in music, if you have a great idea and then you have people around you who can help you put that together, then you can have success very quickly. So I just wanted to add that to round out the picture, because I've been talking about hard work and incorporating feedback and sticking at it and things being difficult at first. Yes, but in music you can always have a breakthrough much faster than you could have in, say, sports or other areas, right? So you say you're studying to be a medical doctor or lawyer or an accountant, that's definitely going to take you years, right? So with music, yes, it's going to take you some time, but if you are creative and if you're good at surrounding yourself with other creative people, then you can get there more quickly, right? So tangent over, I promise. Let's go back and listen to another song. This song is about 15 years old, and let's have a listen.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space. And when you're out there without care, yeah, I was out of touch. But it wasn't because I didn't know enough. I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Possibly. And I hope that you are having the time of your life.
Okay, so again we had massive contrast between the verses and chorus, like that. So very, very punchy. And then we had a very, very singy chorus, right? And there's another thing that I'd like you to take from this, and this is, if you have a listen to how long that word crazy, does that make me crazy, like that, right? If I sing it like, does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? But it's not that. It's, does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Like that, right? So, those notes are long, right? And that may be a subtle thing, but it makes a difference. I hope you could hear that when I was singing, does that make me crazy? Like that. It's the same notes, right? Very similar melodic rhythm, but that one long note makes the whole thing more emotional and more memorable as well, right? Because long high notes are always memorable. Don't know if you've ever been to, well, say showcases where maybe lots of singers sing cover songs or something like the X Factor or something like that, and you can always see the audience go wild when people sing long and high notes, right? There's a reason for it. It's because, first of all, it's difficult, right? So it's almost, again, coming back to the sports analogy, it's an Olympic thing, right? Just be able to sing long and high is not easy to do, right? So it takes a lot of muscle and you have to build it up over many years. And it has, of course, an emotional component, and that is what people respond to. So again, listen out for your songs. If you are feeling that your song, maybe lyrically, can take, say, an epic chorus melody, then see whether you can make some of those notes a little bit longer, right? So let's see what else we've got. Oh yes, we've got Maroon 5. All right, so I hope you like my selection of music. If not, of course, you can play this game with your own favorite playlists and songs, and see whether the melodies are more singy or more punchy, right? But right now we've got Maroon 5 queued up, so take it away.
I'm at a payphone trying to go home. All of
This
my
song starts with
change
the
I
chorus.
spent on you. Where are the times
Super
gone,
singing.
baby? It's all wrong. Where are the plans we made for two? Yeah, I know it's hard to remember the people we used to be. It's even harder to picture that you're not here next to me. You say it's too late to make it, but is it too late to try? And in that time that you wasted, all of our bridges burned out. I've wasted my nights, you turned out the lights. Now I'm paralyzed, still stuck in that time when we called it love. But even the sun sets in paradise. I'm at a payphone trying to go home. All of my change I spent on you. Where have the times gone, baby? It's all wrong. Where are the plans we made for two? If happy ever afters did.
Okay, I'm just going to stop it here so you still have that hook with a title, payphone, fresh in your memory. All right, so again, I'm at a payphone. All right, so it's not I'm at a payphone waiting to call home. Right, I'm at a payphone waiting to call home. Right, so the important words are just a little bit longer. And also, for those of you who know a little bit about music theory, so these notes are outside of the chord, right? Which is also called unstable. And again, we're not going to have huge amounts of theory today, but it's something that we just want to mention very briefly here, right? So I'm at a payphone. So if I just sing it within the chord, it's I'm at a payphone, right? So this would be like the root note of the chord. But he sings I'm at a payphone, like that. That makes it more emotional. It makes it slightly wrong, but more emotional. So again, if you have an emotional melody or concept of your lyric, we talked about concepts last time, then you can afford to make your melodies a little bit more epic and singy and emotional, right? it's just saying hey to Arco for Ice. So hopefully I've pronounced that correctly. Sounds quite mysterious. Something out of Indiana Jones. So what we are going to do now, of course, before we move on to the next song, what I would like to just briefly draw your attention to is how punchy the verses were in Payphone. So at the end of that, there was a bit of contrast again because the melodic rhythm slowed down, but it still wasn't as singy as the chorus hook, right? So again, talking about developing the melody within our sections. There's lots we could go into, but not everything in one session, right? Because I'm finding anyway when I learn something new, then it's better to do things gradually and not try to learn everything at the same time. So basically take in one concept, but learn that properly so that you can recognize it in every song you listen to and every song that you write, and then move on with the next one, right? Rather than everything at the same time and being confused, and maybe more confused than you started out. So basically that was the contrast, right, between the verse and the chorus, like we had in Crazy and Just the Way You Are. And that is a hallmark of a great writer. So as you can see, there's not only one writer or one band who's got a monopoly on this kind of good writing. All good writers do it, right? So let's listen to another song. I think for those of you who love rock music, right? We haven't had anything yet. So rock music, my favorite rock band at the moment is the Foo Fighters. I know they're an old rock band, but yeah, so I love the Foo Fighters. Let's have a listen. So here we have it the other way around, right? So the hook, the bit that we just listened to, was very punchy, very much in your face, more or less on one note, da 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 da, like that, and then the verses, da 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 da, like that, super singy, right, and melodic and sentimental. So here was the other way around. Just wanted to show you that it's not always, you don't always have to follow particular rules like, say, punchy in the verses and singy in the choruses. Of course, a lot of songs are like that, but the main thing here is that it's not the same all the way through, like flatlined, right? We don't want that. We want healthy movement up and down. Like some of you may do like bike training in the gym, right? When you have these exercise machines where you see hills, right? Hills training. That is much more interesting and much more beneficial than riding on your bike like in a flat kind of terrain for like an hour, right? So, and it's the same, those kind of hills, those hills is what you want in songwriting as well. And of course in production as well, because you can do a lot with the arrangement and then with transitions and everything up to, say, crash cymbals and white noise and whatever have you, with those of you who are into all this technical stuff. But here we had melodic, singy verses and punchy choruses, right? And also we talked about syncopations before. Here there was a big syncopation. So basically syncopation is when something is unexpected, right? So here when like that, could you hear that? That was completely unexpected because the note was pushed forward quite a bit. And those are the kind of melodies that are more memorable, right? And so again, I'd like you to keep an ear out for this kind of thing in your own writing when it comes to melodic rhythms, just to have a good balance of straight. So da 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 da, which is straight, right? And syncopated would be da 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 da. That's very syncopated, right? And of course there are many steps in between. Those were extreme examples, but this goes to show that there's no one right way to write a melody. It's about contrast and variation, but also about repetition as well. So lots of big words. Let's listen to another song, which I suppose would be the polar opposite to The Pretender or other songs like In the Club. And again, for those of you who are more classically trained, you will like this one. String melody gives it away, doesn't it?
Quando sono solo e sogno all'orizzonte, manca le parole. Sì, lo so che non c'è luce in una stanza quando manca il sole. Se non ci sei tu con me, su le finestre, mostra a tutti il mio cuore che hai acceso, chiudi dentro me la luce che hai incontrato per strada. Con te partirò, paesi che non ho mai veduto e vissuto con te, adesso sì li vivrò con te, partirò su navi per mari che io lo so, non esistono più, con te io li vivrò. Quando sei lontana sogno all'orizzonte, manca le parole, e io sì lo so che sei con me, tu mia luna, tu sei qui con me, mio sole, tu sei qui con me.
Right, I've almost fallen asleep now. It's just Bocelli's voice, right? It's just so mesmerizing. So obviously very, very singy, right? Super singy. Not a lot of melodic rhythm that you could remember, but melodically superb, right? So again, it depends on your genre. Maybe you write big ballads, maybe you write for musical theatre. With pop songs, you have to be a bit more careful, right? We listened to Someone Like You by Adele earlier on, and so that was obviously a little bit more modern than this song here. So again, it depends a little bit where you come from, what kind of education you've had, what your taste is, right? In general, I'd say that we all have our strengths and weaknesses, things that we do easily and other things that we struggle with, like I said before. So if you're coming from classical music, then you will definitely love something like the song we just listened to. But that doesn't mean you can write songs like Someone Like You in an instant, right? It's just snap your fingers and there it comes. You'd have to study melodic rhythm a lot more if you wanted to write a song like this. So I think what we can do now is just listen to maybe a song that is a little bit more modern, right? So for those of you who love the current charts, this is one of the biggest hits in the world right now by a young kid called, what is he called? The Kid Leroy. And yeah, so he's one of the few artists that broke through last year during the pandemic. And so therefore, this is very, very rare, right? Because most people who did well were people who are already well known, right? So hats off to him. And let's listen to this song here.
You cut out a piece of me and now I bleed internally, left here without you, without you. And it hurts for me to think about what life could possibly be like without you, without you.
Okay, just gonna stop it here for a second. I just wanted to draw your attention to something we mentioned earlier, which is those notes are outside the chords and make the melody more sentimental, more exciting. So we go without you, like that. So without, da-da, right? So that second note, without you, like that. And then the interval, which is a sixth, right? So that is in itself a very sort of pretty interval, but before that you go to this note which is outside the chord, and that gives you an extra dose of sentimentality, right? So this it's a young kid. But again, if you listen to the way he sings, right, which is pretty reckless, like say like a Bruce Springsteen or somebody like that, or rock singer, even like Dave Grohl or somebody like that, and but the melody is quite sweet, right? It's quite similar to the Bocelli melody that we listened to a minute ago. So it just goes to show how complex the whole thing is, and that it takes quite a bit of experience to be able to peel away all those layers and find out what makes a great song a great song. And so here we have this very emotional delivery, of course the lyric without you, and then very strong words, adventurous words. If those of you who were here last time, we talked about adventurous words like bleed internally, right? You don't find that in pop songs very often, so that's memorable. And then without you, like that. It's a way of making the melodies more sentimental by including those outside notes and also those jumps, right? And here we have a sixth, which is quite an emotional interval in itself. So let's just have a quick listen to the verse and then we shall wrap up.
I can't believe that you would have believed me. Fuck all of your reasons. I lost my shit, you know I didn't mean it. Now I see it. You run and repeat it, and I can't take it back. So in the past is where we'll leave it.
Right. So here we have an interesting hybrid, if you like. So it's very punchy and also helped by the way that he spits all the notes out, right? That's his style that makes him instantly recognizable. Like that. So it has got those hills that we talked about before, but the melody is like the melodic rhythm is like that. So again, there are reasons for this being a hit. Right. Of course, there are all sorts of other reasons, nothing to do with it, with the music itself, like there is with any breakthrough artist. But you have some very solid writing, a great melodic rhythm, and some memorable, hilly kind of melodic movements as well. Right. And also the arrangement behind it is very simple as well, which helps as well. So if the melodies are a little bit more complex, means you have to rein in your instincts maybe to overload the arrangement with other stuff. But that's something we will talk about in greater detail in upcoming episodes. But for now, I think we've covered a lot of ground, and I hope you've managed to take something from it. Like I said before, it's always a good idea to get tuition. YouTube is fantastic. I love YouTube. I spend a lot of time learning stuff. But when I really want to learn stuff, I'll do an online or live course, right? Which I've done many of. It's just you immerse yourself in it. You make a commitment to it. And I prefer it that way, right? And YouTube is more like snacking, right? It's the difference between proper meals and snacking. There's a time and a place for both, but I don't think anybody would want to live on peanuts and crisps and chocolates alone, right? So that's why we offer those courses, whether it be Logic or Ableton or sound design or mixing, or of course what I teach in my songwriting course called Songwando with a martial arts sporty connection. That's what we do. And so if you have any questions about any of those things, you can see it on the screen. You can ask them in the chat or in the comments, or write me an email. Doesn't matter. I would love talking about this kind of stuff, as you can hopefully tell. Right. So thank you for your attention, and I shall see you very soon.